Hi, Sadie.
Hi, Mario. How are you?
All right.
How are you feeling?
Good.
Good.
Thank God.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see anybody on the share, so I thought maybe.
Hi, Faggy.
Now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. How are you, Bernie and Tammy?
Wonderful, and you?
How's Hanala feeling?
She's okay.
Yeah, she's okay.
He's recovered. Yes, thank God.
Yeah.
But everybody in the house seems to have caught it now.
Really, the
wow.
two youngest ones?
They're still waiting for the COVID test.
What about her husband?
Also.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They say that we're all gonna get it.
Yeah, it's going to be endemic.
Why? Didn't you have the booster?
I know, but I don't know. I was listening to Ben Shapiro and he said, you're gonna get it, I'm gonna get it, we're all gonna get it.
I don't believe him.
It's true. Everybody's going to have had exposure. But
That's
if you're
the doctor.
vaccinated, hopefully it'll just be, you'll have antibodies, but nothing symptomatic.
Mild
That's
case.
what you got to hope for. I saw Ellie today in shul. She was
Right,
able to say hello to me. It was very nice.
nice.
Yeah, it looks great, Ellie. Looks in good shape.
Baruch Hashem. He has a good nurse.
That's
Is she
true.
out- is she out for hire? Maybe we could use a little.
You have your own. You have your own nurse.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mario, Shavua Tov.
How are you feeling, Mario?
Good. thank
How's your
God.
back? How's your back?
His eye, I thought it was.
Comme ci, comme ça.
Cozy, like we say. Yeah,
What do you do for your coma? Use those white drops?
yeah.
There's different drops. He's had a procedure.
What Tov?
But,
Hello, Shavua Tov.
How's Tammy feeling?
Who, me?
I heard Bernie didn't come to shul because Tammy wasn't feeling well.
Well, I wasn't feeling well, but he went to Young Israel.
Oh,
Oh,
We went to the bar mitzvah. I went, I should say.
oh.
It's okay. She was feeling good. If Bernie could leave her,
Don't worry, I don't need a nursemaid.
you can always ask Peggy. You can always ask Peggy.
Your internet is bad. Walter.
I'll take good care of you, Tammy.
Huh?
I'll take
What do you
good
say,
care of you.
Mario?
She's all
Thank
fingers
you, thank you.
So Ernie, this is a very momentous parak.
Yes,
This
it
is
is.
amazing what happens here.
what Eric? Where's my glasses?
Perek Kaf Daled.
I've done it.
Perek Kaf Daled.
Pasuk.
No, that's not bad.
Well, we'll go back to Pasuk Daled. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll go back to Pasuk Daled. We'll just review a little bit. Shaul, of course, is chasing David and his men. And we said that Shaul HaMelech went into the cave to relieve himself. We learned about Shaul's tznius, that he covered himself when he went to the bathroom, and because we actually just had a chazal that Esther, the tznius of Shaul led to the future progeny, Mordechai and Esther, that came from Shaul as well. Because Shaul ben Kish, and by Mordechai it says Ish Yudi Ayah b'Shushai Rosh Mordechai ben Yair ben Kish Ish Yemini. So, as we see throughout this episode with Shaul, there are aspects of Shaul where he's a tzaddik. There are aspects of Shaul, of course, where because of the Ruach Ra, he's affected in a negative way. So Shaul goes into the cave, and Vayomru Anshe David Elav. Hinei Yom Asher Amar Hashem Elecha. This is the day that Hashem had told you, Hinei Anochi Noten et Oivecha Biadecha. This is the day that your enemy is going to be given to your hands. V'asita lo kasher yitav beinecha. Do what is right for you to do. Vayakam David vayichrot et knaf ha'me'il asher l'Shaul balat. David HaMelech cuts off the corner of Shaul HaMelech garment secretly. So let's analyze this pasuk. We did a little bit last week, but we'll review some aspects of it. First of all, what is this thing that Asher Amar Hashem Elokecha? Where was it that David was told that his enemy was going to be given to him? So the Radak says, Nemar LeDavid Nevuah O Yedei Shmuel O Gad O Natan Navi. One of the Nevi'im that interacted with David had told him that. Yeshoimim, the Malbin says that his people, the men that were with David, that the fact that David HaMelech had been anointed by a Navi, by Shmuel, and you can't have two kings with one crown. And number two, Shaul is chasing him. And it's going to be clear that Shaul is going to fall into David's hands because Hashem has already promised the Melucha to David. So the men told David, this is obviously the reason why Shaul has wandered into this cave in order to fall into your hands. It's as if Hashem told him today. So the Malbim learns a different shot. Not that the previous Nevi'im had told David that at some point your enemy is going to fall into your hands. But this is the sign right now. The fact that Shaul stumbles into your cave, that's Hashem telling you that now's the time to kill him. We learned last week a little bit that they also understood that midin rodef, the fact that if someone's chasing after you to kill you, you're allowed to kill him to save yourself. And they had judged Shaul as a rodef, and you have the permission to kill him. However, it's clear that when David cut off the corner, that he didn't have an intent to kill him. He does have a plan. By cutting off the corner, he's going to be able to show HaMelech afterwards that, you know what, I had the opportunity to kill you. I didn't kill you. Now, this issue of the right to kill somebody who's chasing after you, it's not so simple. Chazal tell us that the iyachol latzilo be'echad mevarav asur lahargo. If somebody's chasing after you and you have the ability to hit him in the leg and slow him down or to stop him without killing him, you're required to do that. So the question is, why did they think, or why didn't the advice of the people should have been to David to kill him to stop him with the echad me'evarav, to wound him? I just want to demonstrate a machlokes rishonim between Rashi and the Mishnah Lamelech. Mishnah Lamelech is one of the major commentaries on the Rambam. The Mishnah Lamelech says in Choyvel Umazik, the halachas of wounding people and damaging people, Demutar lahanirdav atzmo laharogas arodev. The person who's being chased, he can turn around and kill the person chasing him. Even if he could have stopped him with, shooting him in the leg. Means if you see somebody chasing somebody with a knife, you can't kill that person. You have to wound him. So according to Mishnah Lamelech, it would have been permitted for David to kill him because he's the one who's being chased. But Rashi in Sanhedrin Nun Zayin says, Rashi says that even the person who's being chased after cannot turn around and kill his pursuer. he has to try to wound him first. It means if he can't stop him through Echad Mevarov, of course he has the right to kill him, but you have to try that first. So according to Rashi's shot's a little hard. Why were the people with David so convinced that David had the right to kill him? So the Meforshim answered that if David would have left Shaul alive, there's no proof that he's going to accept that David, could have killed him and didn't kill him. So now he's going to and he's going to stop chasing after him. Really, we're going to see later on that it doesn't, even though there's going to be an attempt at the reconciliation, the reconciliation doesn't succeed. So if he doesn't kill David, the threat's still going to be there. And therefore it's not considered, even if he would have left him alive, it's not considered Echad Mevar. So Pasuk Hey,
Can I just interrupt you a second? I just wanted to add that there was one of the Mefarshim say that the word, when you refer to the words of the pasuk, it says Vayakam David. That Vayakam refers to perhaps an allusion that David's image to the Bnei Yisrael, to all the Jews now rose because they saw that the prophecy of Shmuel Navi came true, and that David was the true king, or would be the true king.
How did I see?
He arose in the eyes of the people.
Okay.
What did he say?
I was thinking that you would say that he rose in the eyes of the people in the sense that here's a person being chased after to being killed, and yet he refuses to sort of go to his baser nature, and he's able to be moishel on his midos and refrain from killing him.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's his personality, the fact that he can refrain himself from performing the act that he's halachically permitted to do, that he's an extraordinary.
Yeah, so that's no. So then I understand good the pshat vayakov David.
Yeah,
because so pasuk hey vayach rechein vayach leiv David also ala shekarases knafa shelo shol. Look at the level of David HaMelech. Here, a few minutes later, he's now regretting even cutting off the corner of his garment. It's a bizoyon to the king. And even that, David HaMelech begins to regret. And the Yalkut Shimoni.
Isn't he also setting like a precedent that if you're able to kill a king and he's going to be king, he doesn't want to set a precedent that killing kings is okay.
Okay, very good. I think we're going to see some of the Meforshim talk about that he wanted to prevent the concept of assassination on Klal Yisrael. So absolutely. And that's going to be brought up. The Yalkut Shimoni on this pasuk Vayichot Knafa Me'il, Rav Yehuda Omer Amar David Ma ben ketet tzitzisa leketer reisha. He said to himself, what's the difference about cutting off his tzitzis versus cutting off his head? He was upset about himself. And Rav Nechemia says that he was just upset Shabbatlu Mimitzvah tzitzis sha'achas, that by having a garment of only 3 corners, you're not chayv in tzitzis. So he was mevatel the mitzvah of tzitzis for Shaul during that period of time. And for both reasons, it was not appropriate to be nogea to a Mashiach Hashem. Shaul also was anointed. And also there are people who say because of Bal Tashchis that he was upset. So David HaMelech was a very righteous person. The other thing is, Sefer Chasidim says, "Lo'olam yispalel adam shelo tavot hakala al yado." A person should pray that bad things shouldn't happen through your hand. There's a concept: megalgal and schus al yedei zakai v'choiv al yedei chayiv. Good things usually are given to people who deserve to be given good things, and bad things happen to people who deserve to have bad. Say ulamad, says the Sefer Chassidim, mi David, alpha bishamra Torah habol lahar kashkem lahargo Lo aval haragat Shaul kishamatzu yashan shocheh b'Michael. Right? He didn't want to kill. He didn't want a bad thing to happen through him. It's very interesting. Reb Shimon Schwab, right, the head of the Yakisha community, Zichron Livracha, in Washington Heights, saw the concept of leaving Shaul without tzitzis similar to leaving him without a Sefer Torah. We know the din that a melech is supposed to have a Sefer Torah with him all the time. It shows that, Melech Yisrael is governed by a different rule. Well, what's the point of tzitzis? You're supposed to look at the tzitzis and remind yourself of all the mitzvahs of Torah. So he connects the tab. It's a very nice concept that it's as if he deprived him of one of the things that a melech is supposed to have all the time.
Ernie also said, Chazal also say
Is it
that,
on?
yeah, it's on, that David had charata of what he did, and subsequently he was paid back mida keneged mida, that he had damaged the cloak of Melech of Shaul. Subsequently, at the end of his life, the first parak in Malachim says, Melech David Zokein Ba'ayamim, and he was cold and he needed to be covered with garments. So neged keneged mida keneged mida in terms of not showing respect for the beged.
Right. We mentioned that last week.
Oh,
And
okay.
because last week was the Haftorah Vaychi, so it worked out because we started this parak. We're doing a little review. We started this parak last week, and we mentioned that they had to look for a wife for David because he couldn't be warned by begodim.
In Urim on David HaMelech said that this was considered a goodnight to David, that he cut his garment because in the same way that Yosef had in Nevuah, that because he asked the Sar HaMashkim to save him, when he had already been given the word from Hashem through like Nevuah that he would be saved, he should not have relied on the help of the Sar HaMashkim. In the same way that Shmuel had told him that he's going to become king, he didn't need to rely on cutting off Shaul's garment because he knew he was going to be saved through Hashem rather than through more physical means.
So it's lack of bitachon.
Yeah.
Yosef was punished for 2 years in prison. Since he's going to do it in a natural way, he's going to show Shaul, look, I could have killed you, but I saved you. So you want to bring out that maybe he didn't have to do that because Hashem already had promised him. Very nice. Yep, very nice shot. Very nice. Pasuk Vav. So, in fact, David HaMelech has to convince his men because his men were up in arms. They're also being threatened by Shaul. They wanted this Shaul to be killed. So, Vayomer la nashav chalilali ma'Hashem ima asesa davar hazeh la'adoni limshiach Hashem lishloch yadi bo k'mashiach Hashem hu. That means David is telling his men, "There's no way I was going to kill him." They thought Hashem is giving you this hinei hayom asher amar Hashem elecha. So he has to now sort of explain to them why he didn't kill him. When David crept away from his men, and when he did so, they thought he was going to kill him. When he came back with the knaf of the me'il, so that's why now he has to explain to them. He had to explain why he didn't kill him. And in fact, Pasuk Zayin, Vayishasa David es Anashim. That means with rhetoric, with debate, David convinced B'dvarim, David didn't allow his men to go and kill him. And they allowed Shaul to leave the cave and go on his way. And David had to break that up. Vayakam David achreichein, So David leaves the cave. Vayetzei min ha'ma'ara, vayikra achrei Shaul lemor. He calls after Shaul. Shaul had just left the cave. Adoni HaMelech. He refers to him as the Melech. Vayabeit Shaul acharav. Shaul turns around. Vayikod David apayim artza vayishtachu. No, just close that. Or lower it. That's good. And he bows down twice to Shaul HaMelech, David HaMelech. So not only does he not kill him, he now bows down to him to show kavod to the person who's chasing after him. Vayomer David l'Shaul, lama tishma et divrei adam lemor, hine David mevakesh ratecha. Why are you listening to that person, divrei adam? Who is he referring to? Doeg. Remember the Malshin. That's the way Rashi learns. The Abarbanel learns it's Avner, who was Shaul's general. We'll see in a minute why Avner would be considered one of the ones that might be telling Shaul that David is not a right guy. Why are you listening to them in their halshana against me? Now, David knows that Shaul has ruach ra, that he's depressed, he's melancholy. He was the one who had to play piano or guitar, whatever, to soothe him. But David feels that the chase that's going on is because of Doeg being moister him because of what happened in Nov Irakoanim, and it's Doeg that's constantly degrading David. Says David in Pasuk Yud, Hinei hayom hazeh ra'u einecha. Your own eyes have seen et asher netancha Hashem hayom biyadi. Hashem gave you to me today, b'ma'ara, in the cave. V'amar la'haracha, and even to kill you. V'tachas alecha, but I had rachmanis on you. Va'omar lo eshlach yadi ba'adoni ki Mashiach Hashem hu. I'm not going to stretch out my hand against you because you are the Mashiach Hashem. So why does it say in the pasuk, in fact, in Gemor Bracha Samech Beis, Va'omar lahar kavatachas alecha? What do you mean Va'omar? Va'amarti meboile. It should say Va'amarti. I said that I'm not going to stretch out my hand. What is this Va'omar? Amr Abelazar, Amrlo David Lishol, Minatara ben Arigata. According to Torah law, you're a rodef, and it would be permitted for me to kill you. Sharei rodefata. Torah Amra Balahar Chashkem Lahargo. Elat Sniut Shai Tabacha. Why did you come into the cave? You didn't want to go to the bathroom publicly. You show yourself with sneas. Hi chasa alecha. That means it was the tznius that had rachmanis on you. When it says, Vayavol gidrot atzon ala derech, Vayavol Shaul ha'sechet raglav, that he covered himself like a sukkah. So it's Shaul's midos that saved him. Pasuk Yud Aleph. The Avi, by the way, he calls Shaul his father. Re'eh, look, Gam re'eh et knaf mi'ilcha. Look at biadi. Look at the corner of your garment that I have in my hand. Ki bacharti et knaf mi'ilcha. I cut it off. V'la ragtich. I didn't kill you. Da re'eh. You should know ki ein biadi ra. I have nothing evil against you. Upesha v'lo chatasi lach. I never sinned against you. Ve'ata sodet nafshi lekachta. And you are trying to kill me. From the language that David refers to his father-in-law. Remember, David is married to Michal, the daughter of Shaul. So Shaul is his father-in-law. So from here, the Meforshim learned, you're supposed to have respect for your father-in-law, the same like you have respect for your father. It's learned from this pasuk. Also says in Sanhedrin, Daf Mem Tes, Amud Aleph. Vayetze Yoav me'im David, Vayishlach malachim achrei Avner, Vayashuvu ito mibor asara. This is going to occur later on in Shmuel Beis. And Avner, Yoav, is going to end up killing Avner. Omer Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana, Bor V'sira Garmelo LaAvner Sheyeh Hareg. This episode that we just had with the cave is one of the reasons why Avner, who was Saul's general, deserved to be killed. What's Sira? Because it says Bor V'sira. What's a Sira? Coats. Coats is a thorn. So Rashi explains over there in Sanhedrin, Kishakaras David is knaf mi'ilo shel Shol b'ma'ara. When David cut off the corner of Shaul's garment in the cave, Hayalola Avner lilmod zchus al David. Avner should have seen a positive act in David. The lomar l'Shaul, and to say to Shaul, Re'eh kamachas alecha. Look how he had mercy on you. V'lo harakta b'yoscha yachid imom, and he didn't kill you. However, the truth was Avner lo limed zchus. Elo Amar, Shema kisha avartem etzel hakotzim, v'yisiram nichnas echad ben hakotzim miknaf nil chavoyatem unsham v'chotcho. Avner puts in Shaul's mind, maybe the fact that the corner of your garment is torn is because it got caught on a thorn and got torn there. He put in Shaul's mind that what David is telling you is not true. And because of that, he considered a chet for Avner that he didn't speak the emes to Shaul for David HaMelech. It's just constant. It's amazing to I'm sure to all of us, how as we're learning Nevi'im, going through these individual people who on most levels are tzaddikim beyond our imagination. But Chazal always look at a certain statement, a certain act, to teach us certain morality in how we're supposed to speak about other people, how we're supposed to think about other people, dan everybody lekaf schus, etc., etc. And all of these are always highlighted. I see, as we've been learning through this, a lot of these aspects. We see that clearly in this Gemara about Avner.
Well,
Yes.
Does David know at this stage that his family has been killed by Ammon because they had to run away from Shaul?
Moab.
No,
No.
Ammon, I thought. No, all right, whatever, doesn't make a difference.
No, remember he left him by Melech Moab because of Rus.
Oh, right, okay, yeah,
Learn the
right.
Chazal that he killed out, one brother was saved.
Right, so is David aware that his family has been killed because they had to run away from Shaul?
I believe he does at this point.
So, wouldn't he be angry at Shaul for causing the death of his whole family?
Well, Shaul didn't kill his family.
Know, but because
David deposited his family with Melech Moab and hopes that he would keep them secure. You're saying because he was being chased after Shaul. Okay, so it just shows you the greater midah of David.
But isn't that why his family went to Moab? Because they were afraid that they were going to be pursued by Shaul because...
Yes. I'm saying your point is even greater in terms of David's ability to be mevater the revenge against Shaul. It just strengthens it, right?
Okay, yeah, I hear.
Pasuk Yud Beis. David says, Yishpot Hashem beini uveinecha. Hashem himself should judge between you and me. Unekamani Hashem imeka, v'yadi lo tiyeh bach. Why can't I write pasuk here? It says Hashem should, if there's going to be nakama, Hashem should do it. But my hand will not be slung towards you. So another there's a Chazal, Baba Kama Tzadi Gimel Omid Aleph. Hamoisr din al chavero hu nenash tchila. Throwing up a din to Shamayim, like David tries to do here. Yishpot Hashem beinu veinecha. We've heard that language before. You're not supposed to do that. And someone who does that, they're punished first. Where do we see that? Vatomer Sarai al Avram chamasi alecha. In their battle between what to do with Hagar. So he says, Sarah says to Avram, Hashem should judge between us. What does it say in the end? Vayavo Avraham lispod l'Sarah v'livkota. In the end, Sarah dies first. However, Hanimili di islay dina ba'ara. You're only allowed to do, you're only punished for throwing that kind of statement up to Shamayim if there was a din that could be adjudicated on earth. Where was the din for Avram and Sarah that could be adjudicated on earth? Chazal say Hayakayim Beis Dino Shel Shem. Remember, you had yeshiva of Shem ve'Aver, and Shem had a Beis Din, so Avram and Sarah could have gone to the Beis Din of Shem to resolve it, and that could have been a real din. However, by David and Shaul, lo haya shum adam ba'aretz hayachol lishpot et dvar zeh, ki Shaul haya melech, and it was very complicated. So here he was allowed to say something like Yishpot Hashem beinu veinecha. Then David says a pasuk, Yud Gimel, Kasher Yomar Mishala Kadmoni, like, let's say the ancient parable, Mershayim Yetzei Rasha, from evil people will come evil. V'yadai lo tiebach. But I'm not a Rasha, so evil things are not going to come out of my hand. Now, what does this pasuk refer to when it says Mishala Kadmoni? So the Metzudas Sion says, Biyamima Kadmonim, like Aesop's, these were like common fables that were told by people. However, Rashi says this is referring to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Mashal Shel HaTorah, Shehu Mishalosh Shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu, Shaya Kadmoini. And the Malbim says that when it says Bimei Kedem, that's Maisa Kayin Vehevel. That eventually, Nokam Hashem Nikmas D'mei Hevel Mikayim B'emsos Lemech. Shaharagas Kayin. Who killed Kayin? Lemech. Lemech was his great-grandson. So the Rasha came out of the Rasha. David says, Ani lo esek klum, ki ani lo yeh Rasha. Ulefichach lo oilom leherogit otcha, I'm going to kill you. And the Radak says, Yadai lo tiyeh b'cha, ki memokom acher yavo lecha harod. Something bad's going to happen to you, it's going to come from somewhere else. And it's going to be done through Rishoim. Eventually, Shaul's going to be killed by the Plishtim, by other enemies. There's a very interesting pasuk in Sefer Shmos, where in Perek Chaf Aleph, where it says you shouldn't kill, but Vasher tzada, Vasher lo tzada, but if somebody didn't lay an ambush, Valokim inali ado, in the end, that person gets sent to Golus. The Gemara in Makis, Yud Aleph, Gemara in Makis, Yud Amid Beis, Reish Lakish pasuk la pischalai parshas mehacha. This pasuk, Vasher lo tzada v'lokim inali ado. And he immediately compares it to this pasuk in Shmuel. Kasher yomar meshala kadmonim mershaim yetzei resha. B'ma kasu medaber. What is the pasuk talking about? B'shnei b'nei adam shahargu nefesh. You're talking about two people who killed another human being. Echad harag b'shogeg. One person killed a person. He was in a forest. He lifted up an axe, and the handle flew off, and it killed somebody. That's killing somebody b'shogeg. Such a person is chayiv what? He goes into golus. He's not chayiv misa like a regular murderer, since he killed b'shogeg, and the shogeg is a very specific act. It's not when the axe is coming down and it flies out. That's Korov Lemezid. And such a person does not go Legolus.
Is
If
Golos or a Miklat? Is that?
Are Miklat. Yes, I'm sorry, Bertie. Yes, Are Miklat. That means a person who flees to Are Miklat means until he gets to the Are Miklat, the Goel Adam, a relative, could kill him. But once he makes it to the Are Miklat, he's protected. Who flees to an Are Miklat? Somebody who kills B'shogeg. What's B'shogeg? It's not what we think is accidental death. No, it's very specific, like I just said. If somebody's chopping wood with an axe, and on the way down, it flies off and kills somebody, that's not a shogeg. That's Korov Lemezid. He's not put to death, but he doesn't go into Golus. It's only when he lifts the axe up and it flies off, then you go. Because doing it on the way down, you have to be more careful than that. Anyways, such a person goes to Golus. The Echad Harag B'Mezid. Another person, Reuven, kills Shimon in cold blood on La Brea and 3rd Street. He's a murderer. Now, what do you need in both cases to adjudicate the case?
Aiden.
Aiden.
You need Adim. So Lazeh ein Adim, Ulazeh ein Adim. But you have a situation where these two people killed people, but there were no Adim there. Kadosh Baruch Hu mazminin lepundik echad. Kadosh Baruch Hu fiert a Welt. He invites both of these people to an inn. They end up in the same inn. Zeh shaharag b'mezid yoshev tachas asulam. The person who killed b'mezid is sitting under a ladder. V'zeh shaharag b'shogeg yored b'sulam. The guy who had killed b'shogeg happens to be on the roof and is coming down the ladder. V'nafal olav v'hargo. And he falls on the guy sitting under the ladder, the murderer who murdered without Adim, and that guy's killed. Zeh shaharag b'mezid nerag. The person who killed b'mezid is killed. Zeh shaharag b'shogeg goyle. He ends up going golus. Kloimar, roy hayazeh lomus. The guy was supposed to be killed. The act of killing the person is arranged through a person who was not necessarily, didn't have zechuyos. So says David to Shaul, your end is not going to come through me. It's going to come through somebody who's a Rasha. So that's how Chazal see this episode with Shaul HaMelech and David. It's learned from that. Pasuk Yudalid. Achrei mi yotza Melech Yisrael. Now, David HaMelech has first attacked the whole concept of the concept that you're chasing after me because is completely wrong. I could have killed you, I didn't kill you. You see, I have nothing in my heart against you. Now he brings up something else. Achrei mi yotza Melech Yisrael. Who are you, the king of Israel, chasing after? Achrei mi atarodef? Achrei kelev mace? After like a dead dog? Achrei parosh echad, like a flea? That means he already took him to task on the fact that he wants to kill him and he didn't have a right to kill him. Now, he's saying, even if, for example, I had done something wrong, it's not roy for someone on your level. You're Mashiach Hashem to run after somebody like me. I'm nobody. A kelev, says the Malbim, is a man's best friend. He's like a servant. David, in his mind, was very loyal to Shaul. He was an Eved Naaman. It's only that Shaul has pushed him away. Now he's like a kelev mace, that he can't do anything. And the Me'am Loes says, David rotza lahaktinas atzmo b'nei Shaul. He's humble. Ki kol hatzaros v'aredifos ha'elu nigrim al yidei kina Shaul al David. Shaul was jealous of David, but David wants to lessen that. Hayarotza lefachot et zeh kefi ha'efshar. That the whole tchilas hakina ha'isa machmas k'v'rosa shel David. Like it said, Hikasha ul balafav David birvosav, that the people would say Shaul has killed his thousands and David his tens of thousands. But David is saying, I'm a Kelev mace. I'm a Parosh that doesn't have any strength against you as the king. He wants to lessen the kina. Pasuk Tesvav. V'haya Hashem l'dayan v'shafat beinu v'necha v'yereh v'yarev v'zrivi v'shpetenim yadecha. Hashem should be the din and the shofet between us. And this is also, again, the Kliyakar learns that this is a statement against Avner, that he didn't allow Shaul to reconcile completely with David because what he planted in his mind about that. Pasuk Tet Zayin. Vahiki chalo David l'daber satrima el Shaul. David concludes his statement. Vayomer Shaul akolcha zebni David. Is this your voice, my son David? Vayisas Shaul kolo vayevk. And Shaul begins to cry. Now that he recognizes the tzidkus of David, and David has not been trying to kill him, he's crying. Maybe he's also regretting what happened in Novi or Kohanim at this time. Vayomer el David tzaddik ata mimeni. You're a tzaddik greater than me. Ki atag maltani atova. You are always doing toiva, and I'm always repaying it. Vanig malaticha hara'ah. Whatever good, for example, you'd killed the Plishti, the Goliath, and I shouldn't have rewarded you with bad for that. I should have rewarded you with good. You also made me feel better when I was depressed, when you played the kinnor. I didn't pay you back properly for that. Yud Ches. Then it says ve'ata, but it's a Kri Uksiv here. The Kri is va'at in the Lashon Nekeva. V'atai garata ayom et asher asita iti tova, and you're telling me now that the tova you did for me, et asher segaruni Hashem bi'adecha v'lo rakti. Hashem had placed me in your hands, but you didn't kill me. Chazal say in when Moshe Rabbeinu says also, Im kacha at oseli, tashash kocha shel Moshe kinekeva. So to David here, he's so sick and tired of the pain of Shaul that he's weakened like a nekeva. That's how the Malbim explains.
Is this Shaul showing that there's a failure of Hakaras Hatov to David?
Of course. Just the opposite. David is treating him good no matter what he did. And
Right.
Shaul should have treated him good, and he was treating him wrong. He's accepting that. The Malbim also says that by announcing what he had done, this publicized. V'ilamdu acheri mimenu, says the Malbim. V'lo levad sheikabel schar pulato b'shato, eli kabel schar mitamid mitchadesh b'chol dovador. Every generation is going to learn from what David did. And that's also his schar. That pasuk yutes v'chim tza isha toivo. Person finds his enemy. V'shilcho b'derech tova, but it ends up setting him on his way in good health. V'Hashem yishalem chatova. Hashem also should repay you with good. Tachas hayom hazeh asher asisali. Because of this good that you did, and you have, again, the Malbim, according to the way he's learning, yesh l'char schar yoter la'olami, not just an olam hazeh, but an olam haba as well. Now comes an amazing pasuk. Chaf. Ve'ata, now. Hine yadati ki maloch timloch. You will rule. The kama bi'adecha mamlechas Yisrael. And through you will be the kingship of Israel. Now, how did Shaul know now that David is going to rule? So we can learn according to Pshat that Omer Shaul David, he sees David's success in everything. Umachmat zeh yodea shehu yimloch. Maybe because of that, he would know that he'd be the king. Oh, efshar sheshama sheshaul shekvar nimshach David lamelech. Maybe by this time, Shaul has heard the rumors that Shmuel has anointed him. Oh, mishum dera biyadcha b'David simone malchus she'achad hasimanim shel hamoshel shehu yachol limshol biyitzro u'v'gershosav. So this is a very important thing. The word moshel, a ruler, if you cannot rule over your own nature, you can't be the king of Israel. And Shaul HaMelech sees that David HaMelech has the power to rule over human nature, so he indeed can be king. As it says in Mishlei, Tov erech hapayim migibor, umoshel berucho milo kedir. A person who can command his, who can control his behavior, he's more powerful than even someone who can destroy a city.
That's like in the Pirkei Avos.
Akovesh Yitzro.
Yeah.
So I want to
Is
read.
that correct? Is that what Ellen is saying? Hakovesh Yitzro?
Yes. That's what I mean.
Absolutely. Shaul, how is Shaul now coming to the realization that now he sees the tremendous power David has to be Moshel on his mitos, the person who you think would have the right to kill, but he held back. That's the real ruler. Now the Yalkut Shimoni says it in a different way. Omer le Shaul yadati kimaloch timloch. He quotes the pasuk that Shaul knows now that he's going to be king. Mino yada. How does Shaul know this? Lefi she'omer le Shmuel kara Hashem es mamlachos Yisrael. I'm going to remind everybody of a parak we had maybe a few months ago that we laid it on Parsha Zochor when Shaul was commanded to kill out Agag and Amalek, and he didn't. And then the fateful meeting between Shmuel HaNavi and Shaul, and Shmuel turns to leave, and Shaul grabs his garment and he tears Shmuel's garment. So Shmuel says, Kara Hashem es mamlachos Yisrael. Hashem is going to tear the malchus away from you. Omer le Shaul mihu zeh. Who is going to succeed me? Omer le Shmuel says, Eini omer lech, I'm not going to tell you. Ella remez ani romez lecha. Shmuel says to Shaul, I'm going to give you a hint. Mi shehu kore es me'ilcha atid litol malchusecha. He says somebody in the future is going to tear your garment, he's going to succeed you. Kivan shekara es knaf me'ilo. Now that it happened, Yada Shaul, Mashar Malo Shmuel. Now he understood what Shmuel told him. Amazing Yalkut Shimoni, no?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Ve'ata yishava li b'Hashem. Im tachrit et zari acharai v'im tashmid et shmi mi beit avi. Shaul wants David to take a shvua that he'll protect his family and his name. And he protects Shaul's good name after his death, and that he shouldn't do anything to his children. Pasuk Chav Beis. Vayishava David l'Shaul. He takes the shvua. However, I want to point out that the Malbim says that he probably took the shvua only on protect Shaul's good name, but not on his children. Shelo nishba al zaro. Kielo masram ala givonim. We're going to see later on, God willing, we get there, that the givonim are going to come and demand that they're going to make a demand, and eventually some of Shaul's sons are going to be handed over to the givonim by David. Well, if David took a shvua, how is he going to be able to do that? So the Malbim is learning that the shvua he takes here is not the full shvua, that what Shaul asked him to do, to protect his family and to protect his good name, but only on his good name, because it's a good kasha that the Malbim is bringing up. What about the next pasuk?
Was going to take the kama on him for killing out his family or having his family killed?
See,
You think it was-
no.
No.
Well, we'll see what everybody, no. There, we'll see the mice of the Givonim there. Let's wait for that to happen. But it just points out that if David took a shvua to protect his family, how in the end is he going to be able to give over those children of Shaul to the Givonim?
Mhm.
Avim is learning that the shvua is not a full shvua here. Now, what does it say at the end of this pasuk Chav Bet? So, Vayishava David l'Shaul, Vayelech Shaul al Beito, v'David v'anashav alu al Mitzuda. Shaul goes home, and David and his people go to the Mitzuda, go to another rocky tower. So now, when the Meforshim explain, after Hoide Shaul l'David shehu yimloch, mikol makom hevin David kelo yishtana davar ki adayin ruach Elokim ra. That even though they've had this reconciliation with words, David doesn't think anything is going to change. And because he understands that the Giborim with Shaul are not going to let Shaul change this course of running after David. We see what Avner didn't believe the whole thing. He thought it was a ruse, and that the garment was cut off. So we're going to see some situation. There are going to be aspects in the rest of Shmuel that it's going to be that David is still hunted by Shaul, even though it seems from this parak that they've come to a reconciliation. By the way, Chazal tell us that David HaMelech said 2 kapitlach Tehillim, one prior to him hiding in the cave, one when he was in the cave. And some say that both were said when it was a cave. This is Mizmor Nun Zayin. This was before they went and hid in the cave, when Shaul was threatening him. And then Kuf Mem Beis, Maskil David, Bihoto Bamarat Tefillah. It actually says it directly, that it's the Kapitel Tilim when he was actually in the cave.
Bernie,
Yes, Ellen.
in one of Rabbi Kesselman's shiurim on these topics, he brought up that in Megillus Esther, in Perek Daled, I guess it's Pasuk Yud Gimel, Vayama Mordechai Lashiv El Esther, Al Tidamni B'nafshech Limaleit Beis HaMelech Mikol HaYehudim. Ki im hecharesh tacharishi be'es hazos rebach v'hatzala ya'amod laYehuda mimakam acher va'at u'beis avicha tovedu. So this question is on why it says beis u'beis avicha, because Esther was hesitant to go to Achashverosh without being invited, but he told her that if she doesn't go, the Yeshua will come from somewhere, but it won't reflect on Beis Avicha. So it sort of connects to what's going on with David and Shaul, because this would be like a takana on Shaul chasing David, that she, because they were from Binyamin, and David is from Yehuda, which also relates back to Yehuda when they sold Yosef, that they dipped his katones in the blood to make it seem like Yosef had been killed, and that's what they brought to their father. So that it's sort of like Kabbalistic, it's in my mind, the way, he sort of explains it, but it was a way for there to be a kapara on Shaul that his descendants saved the Jews.
You mean Shaul, the descendants of Shaul ended up saving the Yehudim,
Right.
the Yehuda. Not only that, Ellen, not only that, those of us in the Daf Yomi, we're in Masechta Megillah, and we just went through analyzing the pasuk Ish Yehudi Haya b'Shushana Bira, Ushmor. So Ish Yehudi implies that he's from Yehuda. Ushmor Mordechai ben Yair ben Kish ben Shimi Ish Yemini. So the Gemara goes, so what do you mean? Is he a Ish Yemini? Is he from Binyamin? Or is an Ish Yehuda? Is he from Judea? And the Gemara goes through a whole different bunch of different approaches of how we reconcile that. But according to the way you're learning, even in the personage of Mordechai himself is the beginning of a reconciliation between he's a Binyamite because his father is from Binyamin, but his mother was from Yehuda. Or the fact that, more like you said, Mordechai and Esther saved the Jewish people, it begins a reconciliation between the Shvatim. Very nice pshat. Okay, other comments, other things they want to say about this perek that we haven't said, or they see something different, or
These are really amazing parakim because there's so much content, so much basic midos that you learn from these.
yes.
I just want to say that Shaul is such a tragic, he is such a tragic figure, because of his bouts of depression, his judgment is totally off. And then he has advisors who really are misdirecting him. He has Doeg who's misdirected him, Avner, who is misdirecting him. He has so much, going against his, reconciling. And I don't think it's a power struggle. Do you feel it's a power struggle here?
No, you're saying he couldn't catch a break. That means he couldn't catch a break. If he would have had a loyal, trustworthy advisor, Shaul could have avoided all of this.
Well, not necessarily, but certainly would have assisted him. So much, he just has all the wrong advisors on top of all the other. It's so tragic.
Right, Musar Haskel. Who should somebody surround themselves with? They've got to be very careful.
Yeah, but
with who they put around them.
Ernie, this
That's
is from Shmuel Navi. This is from Ma'at Hashem. You can give all the reasons around. That's peripheral, but Ma'at Hashem, the Malchus was leaving him. That there were politics involved, and Doeg and Avner were messing with him and wanted to be after David. That's a different thing. But basically, you see, you couldn't change the chain of events. David was anointed. He was going to be king, and even if you chase him or do everything, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants him to be king, he became king.
The other thing is, I think David, with all his nisyonot, he is so remarkable. He is so amazing. He's so humble, and so many. He's tormented by his. It's not just Shaul the king, but also his father-in-law. On all levels, he's just so amazing in terms of how he accepts his nisyonot.
I just say it shows you what hate can do to people.
He's
supposed to destroy Amalek, and for that he lost the Melucha. But he had compassion on them, but he had no compassion on the Kohanim from north. So it just shows you what hate, like that saying, Hakina v'hasina motzir adam min haolam.
Absolutely. Very, very.
On the other hand, thinking positively of David HaMelech, you have to say how many rulers, kings, presidents, leaders anywhere throughout history were able to combine strength in ruling and compassion in dealing with individual people, and controlling one's own emotions. Because every ruler is challenged throughout their career with negativity. So David HaMelech is very rare.
Not only that, he's so creative. He plays the harp. He composes Tehillim. He's a man of extraordinary capabilities and uses them well.
So
He
who
does
are,
have amazing outlets, yes, and outlets for his suffering. He is suffering. There's no question. He's been abused by his his family. He's considered illegitimate. It's constant suffering, and that's, I guess, because he's able to compose Tehillim that we today are able to use in our times of suffering. And he's gone through so much. And the thing is that he sins multiple times, but he says chatasi. He admits to his, Shaul just did not admit to. He kept on rationalizing and did not admit to what he had done with Moab. It's remarkable, amazing contrast.
with everything that's been said tonight, so now we understand why David HaMelech is in the pantheon. So we know in the Ushpizin, right, you have Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and who is the seventh? David HaMelech.
David.
So everything that is being said tonight, we now understand why Chazal placed David HaMelech in that pantheon. He earned it. He earned it.
All right.
Okay, Yeshikach,
Okay,
everybody.
Thank
Shavuot
you.
Tov,